So, good evening, everyone. I welcome you all in this session of AWS Student Builder Group SYT RGPV. And I'm Nitin Chakravarti, currently serving as the leader of SVGL SYT RGPV. Today, we are here in the session of Introduction to Serverless Technology. So, we will get to know what is serverless and how things works in session. First of all, most maybe few of you don't know about what is SVGL and why we are here, what we are doing with this club or group. So basically SVGL is a student-led community जिसमें students ही mostly चीज़ें run कर रहे होते हैं with the support of their college and the AWS community, right? जिसमें हम host करते हैं workshops, technical sessions or hands-on projects along with multiple activities. So this is the basic motto ताकि हम अपने हमारे कॉलेज कैंपसेस में क्लाउड और लेटेस्ट टेक के लिए थोड़ा सी अवेयरनेस क्रिएट कर सकें क्योंकि ट्रेडिशनल चीज़ें मोस्टली स्टूडेंट्स करते हैं उनके रिसोर्सेज मिल जाते हैं फॉर एग्जांपल डीएसए सबको करना है वो करते हैं कुछ वेब स्टार्ट करते हैं लेकिन क्लाउड एआई ये वाले डोमेन्स में उतना अच्छा गाइडेंस नहीं मिल पाता दैट्स व्हाई वी आर हियर हम इंडस्ट्री के एक्सपर्ट्स को स्टूडेंट्स से कनेक्ट कराते हैं ताकि वो प्रॉपर गाइडेंस ले सकें और जैसे आज हम इस सेशन में ऐसे डिफरेंट सेशंस हम ऑर्गेनाइज कराते हैं जैसे लास्ट टाइम हमने AWS S3 का कराया था जिसमें लाइक S3 की हेल्प से हमने स्टैटिक होस्टिंग बताई थी तो दिस इज दी आवर बेसिक मोटो कि आरजीपीवी में हम अपने कैंपस में टेक का और क्लाउड से रिलेटेड कल्चर थोड़ा मोटिवेट कर सके लोगों को बता सके कि देयर इज सम अदर करियर ऑप्शन आल्सो सो फॉर टुडेज सेशन वी हैव ऋषि ऋषि कुमार तिवारी ऋषि is an AWS community builder and he has the 4+ years of experience as a full stack developer. Along with that, he is 4 times AWS certified. So yeah, he has the certification related to AWS, which people face quite difficulties in cracking that. So very welcome, Rishi.
Yeah, thanks.
So over to you.
Okay, so yeah, hi everyone. So thanks for joining. So in today's session, our agenda is introduction to serverless technologies, and we will understand what are serverless technologies and why they are beneficial. We already have cloud computing and we already have servers. Then why we need serverless, and then we will see some of the AWS serverless services, some basic ones, and we will understand what they do, and then we will utilize them to build a small project that you can use as part of maybe your resume. So I will share my screen.
So,
Uh, Let me know if it's visible. Is it visible?
yeah, it is.
Okay. So before we go to slides, let's see what we are going to build here. So we will build this static website, uh, static and dynamic both. So it's mostly static, and it's hosting our resume, or our resume is embedded in it, and whole site is static, but here this counter is dynamic. So if I refresh this page, you can see that this counter is increasing. If I refresh again, it will increase again. And now if we think about this, how it might have been built. So somewhere these static assets might be stored, and somehow they are connected to internet, and we are able to access it over this URL. And then since we are seeing this increase in number, then definitely there is some kind of processing also involved. Something is here that is processing our request and increasing the counter. And this counter is not local only, it is shared across everyone. So if I give you this link and you open it, you will also see the value of this counter increasing. It means there is some kind of database somewhere. So today we will see what services are involved, and all these services that I counted are serverless services. So we will see, we will start with what is serverless, and then we will see these services. Then we will set up or create these resources in our AWS account. So coming to slides, let's start with servers. So we all know that whenever we access any site, it works because there is some server behind it, and that server is actually some machine or some computer which is sitting in some data center somewhere in the world, and it is connected to internet, and we are able to access that website through that internet and that server. Then comes serverless. So by looking at the name, it says serverless means there are no servers involved. Name is quite tricky here, but why we call it serverless is that not because there are no servers involved, but there is kind of abstraction built by cloud providers so that we feel that there are no servers. Suppose we want to do processing of our code, we want to run some code, we can run that code. We want to put something in database, we can just put in database. So with serverless services we can focus on our aim, whatever we want to achieve with the help of technology, instead of wrestling with servers. So in serverless services, cloud providers manage infrastructure for us. Means infrastructure means whatever the operating system is there, and whatever runtime is involved. Means runtime means PHP, Python, whatever is there, they manage for us, and they also manage scaling. So if we need more resource, they automatically increase the resources, or if there is no traffic coming and we do not need resource, then they automatically scale down to zero. So automatic scaling is there, and auto security is also provided by uh, cloud provider only. Our only job is to focus on code, our code and security of our code. So it's our job to make sure that our code is not hacked or something, but everything else is taken care by cloud provider. So again, this diagram. So here we can see that we still have server, but now this time it's being pampered by AWS, and we just utilize, we just achieve our goal instead of working with the server. Now, here, this is a real life example that I faced last week. So it will help you to understand why exactly we want serverless, or what are benefits of serverless. So what happened around 2022, I installed a WordPress website. WordPress is content management system. If you don't know content management system, you can imagine it's just a website built on PHP language. So I installed this WordPress on EC2 instance, and EC2 instance is just virtual private server which is provided by AWS, and it provides OS, operating system level access, for us. We can install our web server and our own languages, Python, JavaScript, or PHP in our case. So what happened, I installed Ubuntu operating system. Ubuntu operating system was already there, so I selected the that operating system and created EC2. Then installed PHP and WordPress and configured server, made sure that proper ports are open and everything. Then I just kept publishing my blogs and never touched it. Now, recently I opened dashboard of WordPress, and there I saw that there are certain warnings. One was that PHP is deprecated because it was 7.4 version, and since I knew that I used Ubuntu some old version, so I was sure that Ubuntu is also outdated, means the operating system is also outdated. So to fix all this, or to upgrade my server, I opened the server, and I started with updating the operating system. So it was in Ubuntu 20, and Ubuntu works like every 5 years they stop the support for that particular version. So in 2022, 2020 was kind of latest, and now 26 is latest, and 20 is deprecated. So to upgrade from 20 to 26, you have to follow chain 20, then 22, then 24, then 26, and each upgrade takes around 20 to 30 minutes. So you can imagine how much time it have taken to go from 20 to 26. And then after upgrading OS, I upgraded my PHP version, which was 7.4 to 8.3. So that was straightforward. And after that, I upgraded MySQL and Nginx version. So you can see here it was my headache to update operating system also, update runtime also, and then at the end update WordPress also, which is my application code. And then after that I upgraded I just checked my security group, and since I upgraded nginx, which is web server, I have to update some server configuration also to adjust according to new php runtime. And while starting or while doing all this process, I made sure that backup is taken, else if something happened wrong, everything will just go away. And so all these tasks I have to do manually. And now suppose in future, now if my traffic of my blog increases and I want auto scaling feature, so that also I have to manage. So this is the story with servers or ec2, to be specific in this case. Now if we talk about serverless services, and here I have taken example of lambda function. So lambda function is one of like a major serverless service, and it is a serverless compute engine. So what you do, you provide it a piece of code, and it will just run your code. You do not have to worry about operating system, you do not have to worry about your runtime or uh, um, backups, and also you do not have to worry about scaling also. Monitoring and logs are built in inside lambda function, so you can use CloudWatch logs for that. All you have to worry about is your code. Your code should be secure and updated, and everything else will work. So here also in 2022 only, I created a website called portfolio generator. So you enter your information and it will create static website for you, a static resume website that you can share with HRs or your friends. So that website was built that long, and now today still it's working. And suppose in future if at that time I used node 18, suppose in future if node 18 got deprecated by AWS, then I have to just switch one button, I switch to node 24, and my code will work. So everything will work, and I can just focus on my work, like which is running of code here. So I hope everyone is following till here. Any doubts in basic serverless terminology? Okay, then I will go to next step. So uh, coming to the pieces, like initially we when I showed website, I talked about the 5 pieces or 5 resource or AWS services are involved in that project. So these are the 5 services that we are going to use today and build that project. So first is S3 bucket, which is object storage service. Then CloudFront, which is content delivery network. So S3 bucket will store our static files and CloudFront will deliver them. Then we have API gateway, which will act as endpoint for our Lambda function. It will trigger our Lambda function, and Lambda function will run our code. Means the logic of incrementing that counter, that Lambda function will take care. And finally it will store in the NoSQL database, which is DynamoDB. So let us go through all these services one by one, starting with AWS S3. So AWS S3 is object storage service. Means your files are stored in the form of object, and those objects are accessible over HTTP protocol. So it makes it a good solution for storing website files, because files can be just directly accessed over HTTP protocol without any file system level thing. And it is highly durable. 99 point this much 9 percentage of durability is there, means this much chances are there that your file will be never lost. And it is one of oldest service which was launched way back in 2006. So first was S3, and after that I guess second first was SQS and second was S3, I guess. So it is very old. And in our case, we will use it for hosting static files, HTML, CSS, JavaScript. Then moving to next section. So CloudFront. So CloudFront is a content delivery network, and what is use of content delivery network is that they cache static files nearest to users location and serve files with very low latency. So if I go to uh, Google and search AWS CloudFront POP, where POP stands for point of presence, and it is also called edge location. So here we can see this world map, and all these are edge locations of uh, or point of presence of CloudFront. Means in this location, uh, these big ones are region. Here we have AWS regions, but if region is not there, then we have these edge locations there. And consider this example where a person is sitting in here America somewhere, and our S3 bucket or our server is in India. Now this person wants to access our files from India. Then if he requests, then it will travel all over to the public internet, and then file will be received here. So since data travels at the speed of light, near speed of light, so it will be fast, but still there will be some latency. And another thing is cost consideration. So files are stored in S3 bucket, and files are directly requested here. So if files are requested directly from S3 bucket, there is some cost involved for getting files from S3 bucket, and that will be costly. So what we can do, if we put our CloudFront CDN in front of S3 bucket, then when file will be requested first time, then it will be cached in these edge locations and served to user. And from second time, instead of requesting from S3 bucket, files will be served directly from these edge locations, not only to this user. If any user here, anywhere request file, they will receive from these edge locations. So you can see two benefits there. One is there are no calls going to S3 bucket to India, this region. It is just serving from these locations, and there will be less latency as compared to fetching from here. And another thing is that there are no less cost. There are less cost as compared to fetching from S3, because if you fetch from S3, there is cost. If you fetch from this CDN edge location, still cost, but it is many folds cheaper as compared to fetching from S3 bucket. So that cost thing is also there. Another thing is security. If you put your if you make your S3 bucket public here in India, and somebody is accessing, then your bucket is public and you have no control who can access your file. uh, but if we use CloudFront, then we have options like CloudFront signed cookies, and we can control who can access the file. So this is about CloudFront CDN, and there are multiple CDN like CloudFront. You might have heard about Cloudflare. That is also kind of similar thing, and it works in same way. So it's generic concept across cloud providers. Then any doubts in CloudFront and S3? Any question?
Sir, I have one doubt or the
Yeah.
concern that the data centers and the edge locations both are different. मतलब जो जैसे बोलते हैं कि डेटा सेंटर होता है जैसे AWS में मुंबई में एक AP साउथ आता है
Hmm.
और जो हमारी एज लोकेशंस होगी CDN वाली दोनों
Hmm.
डिफरेंट होती हैं या फिर अलग एक ही होती हैं?
जैसे इस ग्राफ में हम देख सकते हैं कि ये जो येलो रीजन है, ये हमारा जो रीजन है, यहाँ पे AWS की सारी सर्विसेज रहेंगी। लेकिन जो एज लोकेशंस होती हैं, वहाँ पे केवल कुछ ही सर्विसेज होती हैं। जैसे कि एक हो गया क्लाउड फ्रंट, और कुछ और होती हैं जैसे जो एज लोकेशंस पे रन होते हैं। जैसे क्लाउड फ्रंट में ही होते हैं क्लाउड फ्रंट फंक्शंस और लैम्डा एज फंक्शंस, वो चीज़ें यहाँ पे रन होती हैं। और जो मेन जो मतलब AWS का पूरा इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर होता है, वो इन जगहों पे होता है। और यहाँ पे भी एज लोकेशन होती है। यहाँ पे हम डॉट देख सकते हैं, एक छोटा सा डॉट भी है जो कि एज लोकेशन ही है। सो ओके, सो जो हमारा नेक्स्ट सर्विस है, सो दैट इज लैम्डा फंक्शन। और एंड lambda function is serverless compute service, means it basically, just in simple language, it just runs your code. Whatever code you give to lambda function, it will run it. And it will run when it is triggered. So it can be triggered by multiple services. Like there is list of services. Few of these are like DynamoDB stream, means data it change in database can trigger lambda function. Yes, 3 means if you upload object, you can configure it to trigger your lambda function. Also API gateway can trigger your lambda function. So in our case, we will use API gateway to trigger lambda function and return the output. And we have already discussed regarding lambda that AWS handles servers, operating system, scaling, and runtime patching, which is upgrade of library, upgrade of runtime like Node.js. And in our project, we will use for counter. So यहाँ पे अगर हम जाते हैं AWS की साइट पे, लैम्डा पेज पे, तो ये एक अच्छा एग्जांपल है। यहाँ पे हम देख सकते हैं जैसे लाइक वी कैन provide any code and we can just run it. So here I am returning hello from lambda, and it's just returning hello from lambda. Whatever I am returning, it's just running that code. And even in production, it's that much only. You have to just give the code. And for now here I can't edit it because it's just some hard coded code. But suppose if you return 5 plus 7 here, it will just output as 13. Then we talked about triggering from API gateway. So here this is lambda function, and when I click suppose if I refresh in my browser, suppose this is computer browser, if I refresh, this action goes to API gateway, and then API gateway triggers lambda function. And now see, if I do multiple clicks, what happen? It will keep increasing. And so these are the instances. When I clicked one time, one instance of lambda got created, or one ephemeral environment, you can say, one temporary environment where your code is running. If I click it multiple times, multiple such environments are getting created. So you can see scaling is happening automatically. Now here you might think that it is very good, scaling is happening automatically, and it will scale to infinite. But if AWS provides infinite scaling, then it can't serve every customer. So there is something called concurrency limit. So when we run this and these instances are activated, these are called concurrency. So we can say that right now 9 concurrent executions are happening, and every account have some limitation. So for my account, for some reason I have 10 limit. Generally this is 100, and that is sufficient. And also you can ask AWS to increase it to up to 1000. But for some reason this account have 10 and I never requested to increase, so it's stuck at 10. Then uh, this one is regarding cost. So suppose if I put some events, you can see these invocations are increasing, and it increased to 1 million. So you can see the cost is dependent on how many invocation your lambda does. So here it's just showing the cost, but it is also dependent on how much time your lambda runs. So two factors affect. One is triggered, how many times it triggered, and another is what is the cost. So coming to next service, which is API gateway. So if you have worked with any backend, maybe Express.js, you specify your routes there, home route, auth route, those kind of routes, and then there is some handler for that. Same concept applies here. you have API gateway, which is completely managed by AWS, and it provides feature like authentication, rate limiting, and all that. And in your code, you have handler. Here, you can select Lambda as a handler. You can select load balancer as handler. Even you can connect it to your VPC with the help of VPC link, which is part of API gateway. So it's just mostly used as endpoint for front face for your backend services, and we will use it to trigger Lambda function and also act as endpoint for Lambda function. Then we have database, and this is DynamoDB database, which is NoSQL database, and it is very fast. It like norm there are no connections maintained. It just operates at HTTP level, so each request is just separate HTTP call to DynamoDB, and we will use it to store the count. We will just increment the counter and fetch the value and return it. So before we go to next section, any doubts still here?
Okay, so I have to make an announcement or like inform you guys uh, that the you will get some credits if you like stay in this session till last and build whatever we are trying to build and post about it on LinkedIn. So yeah, ध्यान से सुनना, जो भी बता रहे हैं उसको अच्छे से बिल्ड करो और उसके हिसाब से जो भी लिंक्डइन पोस्ट लिखोगे उसका कंटेंट जो होगा उसके बेसिस में वी विल सिलेक्ट 3 winners for AWS credits. Got it?
Okay, then let's move to next section, which is our lab or workshop. Before that, let's understand this architecture. This is architecture diagram, and here we have our last time we have done till this part we have already covered till here. We will do it again, but what is happening, our S3 bucket will have our static files, and those files will be served with the help of CloudFront CDN, this path, and then this path will deal with that dynamic data, which will be served with the help of these three services. And this diversion that you are seeing, this is behavior, and it's this is behavior, and its name is also behavior. It's feature of CloudFront that is called CloudFront behavior, and you can do the pattern matching here, that if URL contains API, send to this path. If it contains media or some static, send to this path. If it contains WebSocket, send it to this path. So we will use behavior feature for this routing, and there will be one more routing at API gateway also, but that's for Lambda. So something this we will see this. Then next section is let's build section, and now we will create in AWS account. So if you have account, you can follow along, else if you do not have, still you can watch and understand. At end we will provide 5 labs that you can do at your own pace. So those labs are guided labs, and give you a good understanding. So let's start then. Anybody have any question in architecture? Let me know before we start, because if you are not clear here, things will get confusing. Okay.
गाइस किसी को कोई डाउट नहीं है?
Okay, then let's move to build section. So before we go to build, here, this is the code. I will share it in the chat. So what you can do in this link, you can click on download zip file and extract it. So I have already done. This is the file, and I have already downloaded it. So we'll share it here. Okay. Coming to question, someone have asked is development necessary. So yeah, मतलब थोड़ा बहुत development basic programming languages आनी चाहिए. उनके बिना भी मतलब basic समझा जा सकता है, पर थोड़ा बहुत आना चाहिए development. Okay, so हाँ, तो ये सारी फाइल्स डाउनलोड हो जाएंगी और अभी हमारे काम की जो फाइल्स हैं वो S3 फोल्डर और लैम्डा फोल्डर में है. Starting with S3 folder. So here we will start from here. We will first create S3 bucket, put the files in it, and see things working with the help of CloudFront. Also, in S3, I have two files. One is index.html, which is website, and this is resume.pdf. So if you want, you can use your own resume. You can use this resume also, which you downloaded from here. If you want to create this resume for yourself, you can just Google JX resume, and this is the resume I have downloaded. So you can edit it on Overleaf site and adjust according to your preference. If you want to use this, else you can use any resume. And also, let's quickly see the code once. What is in index.html? Or before that, let's see it. Let's upload it and see in action before we go to code. So first, let's go to S3. And to recall, S3 is the object storage. Now it is many type of storage. It have vector storage and other storage, but like the first one or the initial offering, that was object storage, and now it is called general purpose bucket here. So I will create bucket, and here it's S3 bucket is regional service. So you have to careful of which region you are creating, and we have either global namespace or account label. Global means it's global across all accounts. Let us put resume demo 123, and then hope someone have not taken this, and everything else we will leave default. If you see here, by default S3 is blocked, so nobody can access it. And then I will create bucket. Then let us upload these two files, which is in S3 folder, index and resume. So upload, and just drag and drop these two files here and hit upload. Parallelly, let's open CloudFront. So now we will create our CloudFront distribution and set S3 bucket as origin. So create distribution. For plan, be careful here. Make sure to select pay as you go. You can select free also, but problem with this is that if you create it and want to delete now, it will not allow you to delete. It will ask you to wait till the end of month. So go as pay as you go, because there is no traffic for our site, and we will delete after this uh, workshop. Distribution name, let's call resume site. Everything else we can leave default. If we have some domain name we can use, but for now we will use CloudFront default domain name. Now this is origin. So CloudFront can act as origin for multiple type of resources. Two of those are S3 bucket and API gateway. We are going to use these two. So S3, let's select S3 bucket, click on browse S3 option, and this is the bucket which we just created, and choose. Also, if you notice here, when I selected S3, these buckets from all region are appearing here. Reason behind this is CloudFront is global resource, and um, it can basically take any bucket from any region as origin. path no required. We will serve from root of the bucket, so empty. And then this feature, this is the important one. It says allow S3 bucket access to CloudFront. So when we select this option earlier, a few months back, if you have seen CloudFront, here there was a complex setting called origin access control. So you select origin access control, and then you have to set up signer, means you have to select, and those things were confusing. So those options are still there, they are hidden. Like after you create, you can see those options, but here to simplify things, now one checkbox is provided. You have to just select provide access to cloud S3 bucket. So automatically one policy will be added in your S3 bucket. So files are uploaded. If I go back to permissions in S3 bucket, for now, see, bucket policy is completely empty, but this will add some permission for this CloudFront. So CloudFront will be able to talk to S3 bucket with the help of origin access control. Then next, and disable this one. It's enabled by default. It will cost you $6 if you're not disabled by the end of month. So click next. I will show it again. This is the enable security and web application firewall. So be careful with this one. And done. We are ready to create our distribution. So let's create distribution. And now it will take 2 to 3 minutes for this distribution to get ready. Only then this URL will work. Till that, let's go and analyze what things are done. So here, this origin is created, which we selected as S3 bucket. If I edit this origin,
Sir, so sorry to interrupt.
yeah,
Hello, hello. Hello. Yeah, sir. There's Vikram. He has some doubt. So sorry to interrupt you.
yeah. What is doubt?
Sir,
Vikram, you
please
can
can you
please.
go little bit slow because you are at very fast pace. We are
Uh-huh.
not able to coordinate as much. Please go little bit slow.
Sure,
आपने
sure.
जो वो बनवाया वो थोड़ा सा बहुत जल्दी हो रहा है तो उससे थोड़ा वो हो रहा है हमें.
ओके ओके, तो क्या दोबारा देखना है डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन?
अगर हो पाए तो वन टाइम प्लीज
ओके
सो.
ओके ओके, दोबारा देखते हैं. तो हमने S3 बकेट क्रिएट कर लिए थे. S3 बकेट तो सभी ने क्रिएट कर लिया होगा ना?
यस सर.
ओके, सो दोबारा हम डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन क्रिएट करते हैं. ये वाला बाद में हम लास्ट में डिलीट कर देंगे. सो डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन में सबसे पहले हमें पे एज यू गो सेलेक्ट करना है, प्राइसिंग, और उसके बाद हमें यहाँ पे नेम डालना है. तो नेम इस बार हम डाल सकते हैं, लेट्स कॉल रेज्यूमे ऐप 2, और इस पेज में बस डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन का नाम डालना है आइडेंटिफिकेशन पर्पस के लिए. उसके बाद यहाँ पे हम एक ऑरिजिन क्रिएट कर रहे हैं. अगर हम आर्किटेक्चर डायग्राम पे जाएं तो हम बता रहे हैं कि हमारे पास एक ऑरिजिन है जो कि S3 बकेट है, और उस ऑरिजिन में अभी अभी तो एक ही बिहेवियर रहेगा, तो उस ऑरिजिन में हमें अपना ट्रैफिक भेजना है. ये हमारा एम है यहाँ पे. तो हमने S3 बकेट सेलेक्ट किया, और हमने अपनी बकेट को सेलेक्ट किया जो कि रेज्यूमे डेमो 123 टेस्ट है. उसके बाद हमने उसे चूज कर लिया. उसके बाद ये एक इम्पॉर्टेंट ऑप्शन है जिसमें कि जिसकी वजह से हमारे बकेट में एक पॉलिसी ऐड हो जाएगी, जिससे इस क्लाउड फ्रंट डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन जो हम क्रिएट कर रहे हैं वो हमारे बकेट की फाइल्स को फेच कर पाएगा. सो इस वाले एग्जांपल पे अगर हम देखें, हमने देखा था कि एज लोकेशंस बकेट से फाइल लेके कैश करती हैं और फिर सर्व करती हैं. तो अगर कोई पॉलिसी ही नहीं होगी तो बकेट प्राइवेट है तो वो डेटा एक्सेस नहीं हो पाएगा. इसलिए हम इस सेटिंग को इनेबल करते हैं. अभी हम लास्ट में देखेंगे कि ये सेटिंग से क्या पॉलिसी ऐड होती है, बट पहले हमें क्रिएट करना पड़ेगा. उसके बाद ये WAF सेक्शन है, इसको डिसेबल कर देना है तो इसमें कॉस्ट आ जाएगा. एंड देन क्रिएट डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन.
और सभी लोग ध्यान रखना, वो जो डिसेबल वाला था.
हाँ, WAF $6 पर मंथ उसमें कॉस्ट रहेगा. ओके, सो अगर हम अभी अपनी S3 होप यहाँ तक सभी ने फॉलो कर लिया होगा. अगर नहीं किया होगा तो हम दोबारा इस पे आते हैं. सो इफ यू गो बैक टू CloudFront bucket policy, here we will see that there are two policies added. Uh, one for the first one which we created, and here we can see that this policy allows to get object for caching purpose for this bucket, and principal is CloudFront, means CloudFront service can do this operation, and not all CloudFront, only these two distribution which we created. Now we will go with this one, E2 one. So this is the one. And how this CloudFront service will call this S3 bucket? It will use like, even if we do not see it, it's completely fine. But for our understanding, because if we use some infrastructure as code, these things will not be done automatically there. So for our understanding, we can see that. So there is an option called origin access control, which is in origin access security. And here resume demo 1 2 3, I guess one of these is the one for us. Yeah, these two are the one. So these two are origin access control. They are kind of user, but means kind of entities that CloudFront use to sign request and request content from S3 bucket. And then S3 bucket recognizes that request is coming from this CloudFront distribution and allows the request. Now, I will go back to distribution, and it's still in deploying stage. Once it is done, also one more thing I forgot is that here we need to specify, like, we have configured what is from what is origin, but we have not configured, if I take this domain and access it, we have not configured what to show, which file to access by default. So we are getting access denied. So we need to configure that option here in default root object. So you can click on edit settings here in the general tab of CloudFront, and here at bottom there is option called default root object. So it's index.html. Earlier this option used to be there while creating bucket, but now you have to do here. So only this small change and save it. Once you do the change, you should be able to see default root object as index.html here. And now we have to just wait for deployment to finish, then we will continue. Till that, if any have any questions related to this, we can go through it.
अगर कोई कहीं पीछे रह गया किसी स्टेप में तो वो भी बता सकते हो.
Hmm. और अगर कोई नहीं भी फॉलो कर रहा है, मतलब अकाउंट नहीं है, तो जस्ट वॉच, we will give you access, lab access at end, and then you can just practice it in sandbox environment. Okay, it should be done by now. Let's see. Yeah, it is done. Deploying state is over. Now if I open it, let's open it in Chrome. So our site is loading now, and download button will work because it will just download the resume, but counter will not work. And if I inspect and switch to fetch or switch to all, we will see that when this page is loading, it is making this API call, this views API call, and this call is to get this views counter value, which is still not in place. Also, I forgot to show the index.html code. Let us go through it once. So here, s3 index.html. So in this index file, there is nothing much, this CSS style, and then this to surround your resume by this box, we are using paper.js. So it's downloading that paper.js library and using it. The main thing is in this part at bottom, they are calling slash API slash views, and that response we will just add in the this views div, which should be somewhere here. This views div. We are targeting this ID and updating the value. This is only this much is in this file. So going back to our architecture, this path is working. This path is broken. API call is happening from the website, means when this website is loaded in user's browser, it is making this call, but this call is not happening. I will show you what happens if I double click on it and open it in new page. It is not working. It is trying. What is happening right now, because we have not specified any behavior, and this call is going to S3 bucket, and since S3 bucket do not have anything like this, it is returning access denied. So let us go to CloudFront and create, or before going to CloudFront, let us create from this side. Let us create DynamoDB database, then create Lambda function, then API gateway. Then we will integrate it with CloudFront. So let's go to DynamoDB first. So search DynamoDB and click on create table. Table name, let's give it resume. And partition key. So partition key is unique identifier for each row. So and combination of partition and sort key act as primary key. We do not need sort key now. We will just give partition key as resume ID, and that's it. Two values only: table name and partition key name, and create the table. So DynamoDB is in creation. I think it got created also. So here you can see that it's in on-demand mode. So we talked about how Lambda cost, it cost per million invocation and for the time of CPU consumed. But DynamoDB is charged for RCU and WCU, means read capacity unit and write capacity unit. We can there are two modes: provisioned mode, there we configure um, how many RCU and WCU we will need. With on demand mode, it's automatic, it will scale up and down automatically. And how many RCU and WCU will be consumed, that depends on data, size of data that we request. I think it's 4 KB per RCU or WCU. So there is some calculation that you can see in AWS page. But for now, let's go to next service, which is a Lambda function. Make sure to create DynamoDB and Lambda in same region. So let's call it, we can call it views processor, and runtime is the language that I will use, and version. So runtime I am selecting as Node.js. It can be Python, Ruby, or anything. So let's select Node.js, and everything else we can leave default. By default, this is the new, I think this new UI came just 3 or 4 weeks ago. So there is no option to create role. It will create role for me automatically for this function. So that role will have some basic necessary permissions. So we just need to pass the name and runtime and hit create function button. So it's done. Now the third one, which is API gateway, because we saw that this Lambda needs some kind of trigger, and then only it will process this code. So let us add API gateway. We can add from here also. We can add trigger and create API gateway, but let's go through this route. So create API, and we will create HTTP API. REST API is also there. So difference between HTTP and REST is that REST is the initial one, and it have more features like rate limiting and all. HTTP is the new and modern one, and uh, it is slightly different. So I will just use this one. Also, there is WebSocket API, which is for WebSocket. So there is issue. Okay, so it took me to this page. So click on build, and then you have to give it API name. Let's call it resume app only. And next, and just keep clicking next and create. So API is created. Now API gateway is created. If I go here, I can see even URL. This is my URL, but I need to configure some backend for this, because when we write code in our backend, Express.js or Django or anything, we configure handler. So here also we need to configure handler, but first we need to define route. So let's create one get route here, which is /API/views. We need to make sure we match it with this route, /API/views. It need not to be API/views. It can be anything, but since it's coded in our front end, and we do not want to upload that file again, that's why let's keep this and create. Now API is created, route is created. We need to attach handler. So let's go to attach handler, which is attach integration. Right now we do not have any integration, so create integration, and integration type we want lambda function. So I told that there are many services that we can use. So these are the services that we can use with API gateway. Let's select lambda, and then uh, select the views processor which we just created. And here, if you see, grant API permission means when we enable this in Lambda, this API gateway will be automatically given permission to invoke that Lambda. So if you use like in future, if you write code using Terraform, you have to explicitly do this, else it will not work. So if I go to configuration of my Lambda function and permissions, and resource-based policy. So here, resource-based policy grant other AWS services to access my Lambda function. And right now, no service have permission to access my Lambda. After this creation, this service will have, this API gateway will have. Let us create. So here, we created API gateway, we created route, and then we added our Lambda as handler for that route. Going back to Lambda, new policy will appear here. I can view the policy, and this policy says that a principal is Amazon API gateway, and this is like condition. So this is the ID of my API gateway. This is same as, if you recall, this policy is exactly same as what we attached to S3 bucket. and these are called resource policies. There is role policy also, but in role policy you will not find this principal entity. Here you are seeing, because in resource policy we need to tell which other resource is accessing this resource. So this is something you need to do manually, or write. You have to explicitly write code for this step if you do programmatically using AWS CLI or Terraform. Now let's see if our API gateway works. It is not working because I not pass slash API slash views. We define this route only, and here I got hello from Lambda. So what happened? This Lambda got triggered, and it returned this hello from Lambda. Also, uh, we don't need this, but if you do it and here you do not see this hello from Lambda, you see some error, then you can go to monitor tab and view CloudWatch logs. So CloudWatch logs are very useful in case of any error. And for our execution, here this log stream is created, and here we can see what we have not added any log, but we can see that this was the request ID, it started, and this was the request ID and request ended successfully. If we add some log here like console.log something something, a log will appear here. Or if there is some crash, like suppose I imported something and that is not installed, we will see the error. So if you play with this Lambda by yourself and something breaks, this is the place to check. Before we move, anyone is stuck or any doubt till here? We have done this parts: DynamoDB, Lambda, and API gateway. So now we have this link working. Now let's update this code. So let us go to VS Code and go to Lambda folder and copy this index.mjs. And what is happening here? We are importing these two libraries, these two DynamoDB libraries to talk to DynamoDB. Here we are passing table name. We can pass in an environment variable also. If it's not in environment variable, then it will take this as default. And this is the resume ID. And then whenever this Lambda is invoked, it will call this update command to increment value of views by 1. So this is expression. Something like in SQL we write select star and all that. So this is that expression, and here these are the placeholder values. So we are telling views, it's kind of variable, and then we are telling that this views is string, and then we are telling so here we are saying add views this variable by this variable, and then here we are defining that this variable is 1. So if we want to increment by 2, we can say 2. And since we are using update command, if there is no resume ID created, it will create first time automatically, and if views is not initialized or views column is not present, that column will also be added. And then after doing this add operation, we will get data from DynamoDB, and from that data we will return the views. Now here you might be thinking why we are not doing something like first we get the data, and then we after getting the data we increment by 1 and then put that data in DynamoDB. So if we do that way, it is fine, that will also work. But imagine if hundreds of Lambda instances are concurrently running, like here we saw that Lambda instances were running. Then what will happen? Suppose two functions are running simultaneously, and both will fetch some value of view, and both will increment by 1. So if value is 1, both will get 1, and then both will update by 1, and both will put in DynamoDB as 2. however it should have been 3. What happens with this add operation is that even if two lambda function, two concurrent function put this add value, DynamoDB will internally increment 2 times. It will not consider as 1 time. So that's the benefit of this add operation, and then we are just returning it. So let's copy it and put it here and deploy. Till it is deploying, let us see where we can add environment variables. So environment variables can be added in configuration, general configuration, no, not general, it's here, environment variables, and edit. Here we can add table name as resume. It is deployed now. Let's test it and guess if it will work or not. It will not work. It is throwing internal server error. Anyone, any idea why it is throwing internal server? So the reason is we need to go to CloudWatch to see what is reason. So this is the new stream. And one more thing, like whenever you deploy your Lambda and run, so all the execution will come under one stream for every deployment. So I deployed first time, here I see this log. Now if I had not deployed and kept running, then all the future logs will come in same stream. But since I deployed again, I got this new stream. So whenever you redeploy, make sure to go to the new stream instead of old one. So this is latest stream, and here I see access denied exception, and reason is that I'm doing update operation to DynamoDB, but I I do not have permission. This Lambda do not have permission to do update operation, and we need to add that permission to this Lambda. So we can go to permissions, and this is the role of this Lambda, and role is like identity card for this Lambda, where we can put the policies what permission this Lambda have. So let's go to role and create policy. We want to add permissions for DynamoDB, so select DynamoDB, and we want permission for update and git. So type update and then git. So we have update and git selected. Then we need to tell which DynamoDB table. So add ARN, go to your DynamoDB table, and copy this value. This is ARN, Amazon Resource Name, which is unique name for each service. So here I will just copy paste and add. Next, and then just we need policy name for this policy. Let us call resume. So there can't be space here. Create policy. Now if I go to API gateway URL, which was this one, and hit enter, this time it should work, and here it worked also. So it incremented counter by 1, and then DynamoDB I can go to explore table items. So like here we have tables, and this tab have explore items, so we can see value inside the uh, table, and we can see that resume 1 to 3 have one view. Now we need to integrate this in our application. So if I go back to architecture, we are done this much. Now we want to integrate this to our application. But if you see here, uh, here, this is the domain name of API gateway, and this is domain name of our CloudFront distribution. And now if I call uh, this API gateway domain from my CloudFront distribution, then there will be course error, and it is not something very complex to fix. It is actually very easy to fix. I have to just enable course setting and add domain of CloudFront, or I have to just add allowed headers, and those settings and course will work. But there is more better option, that is to expose this API gateway with the help of CloudFront, uh, with the help of this URL, and then there will be single URL for both the routes. So let us do that now. Let's go to CloudFront and origins. So last time we created origin for S3 bucket, and this was behavior which was default behavior, and it is pointing to S3 bucket origin. Now we will create one more origin. So let's create origin, and it will show us list of available origins. So we need to select our API gateway, which is this one, and that's it. No, nothing else. We just need to select our API gateway and create it. So now we have one more origin, which is this one, which is this API gateway. Now let's go to behavior and create one behavior that will point to this route. So create behavior, and we want any route which have slash API star to send to CloudFront. To send to API gateway, sorry, to send to API gateway, and origin, select API gateway origin. And cache policy is caching disabled here. Uh, in case of S3, it got created by default, but there it was enabled. Here it is disabled because if we enable caching here, then every time we will see same value. But we want to see different value for views, because this is API response is something which we do not want to cache. So we keep caching as disabled, and create behavior. Now it will deploy for some time, and once deployed, we will have this behavior working. So that behavior can be accessed like domain CloudFront domain slash API slash views, and it will automatically go to API gateway. It's working also. So if it is working here, it will work here as well. So it is working. Now counter value we can see. So it is increasing, and we are done. We created this route, this behavior, and this behavior, and our serverless application is working. So this is it. Now you can enhance it further, uh, which you can use other serverless services, other features of CloudFront. we are not going to see today, but I will just demo some extra features that you can implement. So one thing is that you might not want that if you give this URL to anyone and they are able to access it. So for that, you can utilize CloudFront signed cookies. We discussed initially that in CloudFront we can secure files. So see, if someone tries to access this directly, if I give you this URL, which this is the old one which I showed initially, because in ours this feature is yet not implemented, but there it is implemented. So if they want to access, like if we want to give them access, then we need to give them this URL with proper password, and with this there will be cookie created, and they will be able to access. Similarly, we can implement WebSocket feature where everyone will see live updates. So right now in our application, if someone open this app, we will not see the update here. But if we integrate WebSocket API, then we can do something like this. They are like, if someone else in incognito is incrementing, with the help of WebSocket, I am getting the updates. So I can show it. This is the WebSocket messages, and you can see here when I am refreshing in my original application, I am getting these messages, and my application is increasing. Similarly, the cookies feature that I showed initially to secure, here I have cookies which are securing my application. So yeah, this is something extra you can play around. And the code is in repo. If you want, you can just have a look and check it. So yeah, this is it. If anyone had any question, we can check.
आई थिंक कुछ लोगों को ज़्यादा बहुत ही ज़्यादा डिफिकल्ट लगा होगा क्योंकि बिगिनर्स थे। सो डोंट वरी, जैसे सर ने बताया था कि हम रिसोर्सेज शेयर करेंगे, लैब्स शेयर करेंगे स्किल बिल्डर की, जिसमें आप अपने खुद के पेस में लर्न कर सकते हो कि जब सीखना है, जितना सीखना है। सो या दैट विल बी प्रोवाइडेड। सो ऐसा नहीं है कि मतलब बहुत ज़्यादा डिफिकल्ट होगा तो छोड़ देंगे। अ, वो ओवरव्यू देने के लिए वी हैव कवर्ड दिस मच थिंग्स। या किसी को डाउट है कुछ, कैन आस्क। किसी को डाउट नहीं है। सो ओके, वन मोर थिंग आई हैव टू टेल दैट the coupon thing, we will share more details about that in our group. So अगर किसी ने ज्वाइन नहीं किया है सो मेक श्योर ग्रुप ज्वाइन कर लें। मैं ग्रुप का लिंक शेयर करता हूँ। Just click this one. So this is the link. अगर किसी ने ज्वाइन नहीं किया है तो ज्वाइन कर लेना। आई विल शेयर more details about coupons and winners, everything. And one more last thing that कूपन विनर्स यू हैव टू मेक श्योर कि आप लोगों ने फीडबैक फॉर्म फिल किया है। अगर फीडबैक फॉर्म फिल नहीं किया तो मे बी डिस्क्वालीफाई हो सकते हो। तो ध्यान रखो इस चीज़ का। मैं फीडबैक फॉर्म भी अपनी चैट में शेयर कर रहा हूँ। जस्ट एक्नॉलेज मी वंस कि एम आई ऑडिबल। हेलो हेलो। ओके, ठीक है। सो या फीडबैक फॉर्म फिल करना, दिस इज द बेसिक एलिजिबिलिटी थी। एंड मोर डिटेल्स आई विल शेयर इन आवर व्हाट्सएप कम्युनिटी। आई होप कि सर्वरलेस के बारे में पता चला होगा, क्या है सर्वरलेस। किसी को कुछ डाउट रिगार्डिंग development certification. As you know, the Rishi has the experience in full stack development along with he has the core certificate. Yes, Vikram, you can ask.
Good evening, sir. I just want to ask you, सर इस 4 टाइम AWS सर्टिफाइड तो उसमें कौन कौन से टॉपिक्स पे हमको मेन ध्यान देना होता है और बीइंग AWS सर्टिफाइड तो वो फुल स्टैक डेवलपर पोस्ट पे भी काम कर रहा है, मैंने उनके लिंक्डइन अकाउंट देखा था तो he is working in the field of DevOps or in the field of web development. I just want to ask that also.
Like these days DevOps and development मतलब दोनों मिक्स हो गए हैं। अगर कोई डेवलपर है तो उससे ये एक्सपेक्ट किया जाता है कि वो बेसिक DevOps भी कर सके, बेसिक CI/CD पाइपलाइंस हैंडल कर सके। तो मतलब सर्टिफिकेशन पार्ट्स जैसे हमने जो कंप्लीट किया है वो है डेवलपर एसोसिएट और क्लाउड सॉल्यूशन आर्किटेक्ट एसोसिएट। तो इस उसमें मेनली सिलेबस जो रहता है वो डेवलपमेंट बेस्ड रहता है और सॉल्यूशन आर्किटेक्ट में सभी सर्विसेज का समरी टाइप का रहता है। Does
It
that
means
answer?
that अभी के टाइम पे DevOps हाँ ओके ओके आई जस्ट वांट ऐड समथिंग कि अगर इसका मतलब ये हुआ कि अभी के फील्ड में DevOps में जॉब्स डायरेक्ट नहीं है, इट्स ऑन बेस्ड ऑन डेवलपमेंट।
नहीं, डेवऑप्स में जॉब्स हैं डायरेक्ट। एमएल ऑप्स है, मतलब एमएल मॉडल्स को कैसे डिप्लॉय करते हैं इसकी पूरी एक नई फील्ड ही है। तो डेवऑप्स में भी डायरेक्ट जॉब्स हैं, ऐसा नहीं है। हम ये कहना चाहते हैं कि जो डेवलपर्स हैं उनसे बेसिक डेवऑप्स एक्सपेक्ट किया जाता है। तो इसीलिए जैसे जो काम हम करते हैं डेवलपमेंट उसमें बेसिक डेवऑप्स की जरूरत पड़ती है, पर हर कंपनी में एक डेडिकेटेड डेवऑप्स टीम भी होती है जो कि पाइपलाइन को मेंटेन करती है। फॉर एग्जांपल हमारे पास एक नोड जैसा एप्लीकेशन है कंपनी में, तो अगर डेवलपर का काम क्या होता है कि उसमें चेंजेस होते हैं उसके लिए कोड लिखना और उसको मे बी बेसिक टेस्टिंग करके और उसे डेवलपर को बेसिक पाइपलाइन में पुश कैसे करते हैं ये पता होना चाहिए और बेसिक डॉकर फाइल कैसे लिखते हैं ये सब पता होना चाहिए। तो अपना रेपो जो है वो मेंटेन करना डेवलपर का टास्क हो गया। अपने रेपो में हो सकता है कि हमें गिटहब एक्शन पे काम करना पड़े, हो सकता है हमें कोई हर्सी कॉप का जैसे एक है हर्सी कॉप का एक इंजन करके है, इंटरनल टूल कंपनी यूज करती है, उसका डेवऑप्स रेपो लेवल हमें करना पड़े। पर जब वो प्रोडक्ट हम पाइपलाइन में पुश करते हैं वो सभी कस्टमर्स के पास जाता है, उसके लिए डेडिकेटेड डेवऑप्स टीम होती है जो कि उस पाइपलाइन को हैंडल करती है।
ओके सर, वन थिंग आई वांट मोर आस्क कि अगर कोई डेवलपमेंट फील्ड में नहीं जाना चाह रहा और उसको सिर्फ डेवऑप्स या फिर क्लाउड कंप्यूटिंग में इंटरेस्ट आ रहा है तो उसको डेवलपमेंट का बेसिक सीखना पड़ेगा तभी वो आ पाएगा कि इसके बिना भी ही और शी कैन गो फर्दर।
बेसिक प्रोग्रामिंग तो उसमें भी सीखनी पड़ेगी। डेवऑप्स में भी पाइथन स्क्रिप्ट रहती हैं, बैश स्क्रिप्ट रहती हैं और इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर एज कोड सीखना पड़ेगा जिसमें कि टेराफॉर्म आ गया, AWS CDK आ गया और यही चीज़ें डेवलपमेंट में भी ओवरलैप करती हैं। और अगर बेसिक डेवलपमेंट का आइडिया है कि फ्रंट एंड क्या होता है, बैक एंड कैसा क्या होता है, इनके बीच में प्रॉपर ऑथेंटिकेशन इंटीग्रेशन कैसे करते हैं, तो वो हेल्पफुल रहता है। तो टू आंसर योर क्वेश्चन, बेसिक डेवलपमेंट आना चाहिए, पर मतलब काइंड ऑफ ऑप्शनल, बट प्रोग्रामिंग लैंग्वेज आनी चाहिए, स्पेशली टेराफॉर्म, CDK और जो भी डेवऑप्स से रिलेटेड चीज़ें होती हैं जैसे कैनिसिबल हो गया और लिनक्स कमांड्स, ये सब।
फ्रेशर हैं और हम इस फील्ड में जाना चाह रहे हैं, हम पढ़ रहे हैं तो सबसे पहला सबसे आसान AWS सर्टिफिकेट जो भी हम गेन कर सके वो कौन सा होगा?
क्लाउड प्रैक्टिशनर सबसे इजी होता है, लगभग 15 दिन में किया जा सकता है। तो मतलब जब पहली बार हम इस सर्टिफिकेट को लिए थे 2021 से शायद MCA कर रहे थे, तो उस टाइम पे मतलब लिए थे। तो अभी रिन्यू शायद एक बस गेम आ गया उसकी वजह से रिन्यू हो जाता है, लेकिन हम बहुत पहले लिए थे तो 15 दिन लगे थे पहली बार प्रिपरेशन करने में। क्योंकि इसमें जस्ट ये क्वेश्चंस ऐसे रहते हैं कि जो पर्सन पेपर दे रहा है उसे सर्विसेज को रिकॉग्नाइज करना आता है कि नहीं आता है। सिंपल क्वेश्चन रहते हैं, आई वांट वेरी फास्ट नो सीक्वल डेटाबेस, क्या होगा? 3-4 ऐसे ऑप्शन दे देगा, ओपन सोर्स, DynamoDB, और उसमें से सेलेक्ट करना रहता है। पर एग्जाम देने से पहले मतलब एक यूडमी में स्टीफन करके स्टीफन मारे करके क्रिएटर का कोर्स है, उसको कर लेना चाहिए। उसमें मतलब सारे कॉन्सेप्ट्स कवर हो जाते हैं। और फिर प्रैक्टिस टेस्ट बहुत सारे अवेलेबल हैं, कोई भी दिया जा सकता है प्रैक्टिस के लिए।
Okay, thank you, sir.
थैंक यू।